gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome in to the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. I'm Russ Joy, that's Anthony SanFilippo. But we have a guest, and we are going to do what you're supposed to do when a guest is on the show. We are going to subject her to trivia, apparently, later on in this show.
We'll explain why in a little bit.
Do the intro.
But it's welcome in Jackie Spiegel from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, we had you on I think it was your first day or your second day or one of the first days.
Yeah,
you were
second game. Not doing anything the second game.
Yeah, we had you
Just
on
observing.
back then, which was cool, which was great. But now, you've been covering the team for a few months and figured, bring you back on. And, we know you're originally from New York, but now you're getting assimilated here in Philadelphia. So we'll talk a little bit of hockey, big game, big rivalry game tonight, Philadelphia and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then we'll do a little Philadelphia trivia with you.
I got to interrupt this really quick. I really do, though. What part? You were from the Bronx, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay. No. What part were you from?
Brooklyn.
Okay, same thing. So
it's absolutely not.
They're totally the same. I have a question for you.
They must begin with a B.
Was there a La Colombe near you at all? Because I have to say, they don't sponsor the show. They should. But they just sold for $900 million to Chobani. And
Chobani's in New York.
And the last time that I was in New York, I was in Manhattan, and I went into I saw a Whole Foods and saw La Colombe. And I'm like, are you trying to tell me that La Colombe is everywhere? But you're telling me that in the Bronxland area up there that they don't have. Okay.
Well, in Brooklyn, I don't recall ever seeing one. But I also lived in Manhattan for almost 17, 18 years.
Okay.
I maybe saw one.
There's one up by Katz's Deli. And that, it caught me off guard. Anyway,
there's a Flyers connection to La Colombe.
I know there is. Go ahead.
Did you know this?
I did know this. Was this one of the trivia questions?
No, it's not. But Lauren Hart, who does the
anthem.
The anthem.
#1 rated anthemist in the National Hockey League.
Is married to the owner, I guess, or CEO of La Colombe.
Who had a great show. By the way, very underrated show on Discovery, or it was Travel. It was one or the other.
Yes.
Dangerous Grounds, great show. Should have had a second season. I'm like Abed back on Community. If you ever watch Community?
Yes,
Community?
I watched Community.
6 seasons in a movie?
Yes.
That's what I demand of all the best shows. Anyway,
all right.
Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show. I swear there's a hockey game tonight. And it's not just a regular hockey game. It is a battle of the Keystone State as the Philadelphia Flyers welcome Sidney Crosby and those dreaded flightless birds to town. Flyers Penguins.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I mean, I don't know if we looked at this, Jackie, at the beginning of the season and thought, Flyers Penguins in January is going to be an important game, but it turns out it pretty much is. Penguins chasing the Flyers in the standings. There's a lot of teams all bottled up within a couple of points of each other, the Penguins have been playing well. They're 8-3-2 in the last month. Flyers, finally got a win after struggling before that. How do you kind of look at this? How do you kind of handicap this one coming into this contest?
I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw in Pittsburgh and in Philadelphia early in the year. Two teams battling it out, hard game, rivalry game, trying to make a statement kind of deal. As long as the Flyers can play like they played I know John Tortorella says that they played really well in the Columbus game, and I will personally agree for the majority of the game. There were obviously dips, and that led to Columbus tying it and whatnot.
They played until it was 2-0, and then they stopped playing.
I would agree with that. About 15 minutes left in the third period kind of thing. So, and obviously against the Flames, that was a full 60-minute effort. So as long as they play like that, this should be an interesting game.
I think so too. One of the things that really, they were finally able to get off the schneid a little bit last game. They got a power play goal. It was a little bit of a fluky one, but the power play was at least moving the puck well. It was setting up. They were in the zone for a good period of time. This seems to be something that I think that if the Flyers are going to continue to be in the conversation, they've been really good at 5-on-5, but teams have started to catch up to them speed-wise. I think that they're going to need their power play to start clicking. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be clicking a little bit more than it has been if they're going to continue to win games.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, power plays are what basically either advances you, not saying playoffs necessarily, but
go ahead, say it. Don't be afraid.
When you do reach that point, and you need to take advantage of having a man advantage. It's a given. It has to be the case that you when you have a man advantage, especially in the playoffs or in the late playoff push, you need to take advantage of it every single time. And I agree. They've been playing a lot better with the power play. John Couturier said it's coming. You see it coming. We got the goal, but we got to keep sticking with it. And you see the puck possession. It's just off the roof right now.
The one line that has been consistent for them, even while they weren't playing great, has been the top line with Couturier and Connecting and Farabee. And we did a lot of talk last game about, the reasoning behind Torts scratching Cam Atkinson and scratching Morgan Frost. But if you look at the rest of the lineup, it's been inconsistent, hasn't it? Like even an Owen Tippett is on and off. Tyson Forster hasn't scored in forever. Scott Lawton's been, he's really good on the penalty kill. He's a good defensive player, but really hasn't provided much in the way of offense. The Flyers are going to need more than just that top line going if they're going to keep this thing going forward, aren't they?
I completely agree. And actually, that's what I wrote yesterday. I think it was. I forget what day of the week
you forget the days of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. But just in general. Excuse me.
That's right.
But I said, I think what we saw in the last game was so important. There was like 4 things, and one of those things was secondary scoring that we saw from Morgan Frost. And if you can get him going, and that adds that second line, producing or third line, whatever. I don't think really outside of maybe that top line of Couturier and Connecting, and now Farabee. Remember,
right.
It wasn't always Farabee on that line. I think it's 2 and 3 can flip flop about who's 2 and who's 3 kind of thing. But as long as you get those secondary scoring from your middle 6, that's going to help drive you and take the pressure off that top line from always have to be a point producer.
And going back to the power play real quick, I don't remember if it was your question, but it might have been, or somebody else's. Tell me if I'm wrong. But asking Torts about why the power play suddenly looks like it's doing better, and he's like, it's all Zamula.
It was Charlie O'Connor.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember whose question it was.
I will give credit. It was Charlie.
Okay.
I don't know about you guys, but I see a different player out there with Zamula when he's on the power play.
Yeah.
Confident, smart passes, quick passes, everything that John Tortorella wanted earlier in the year, you see on the power play. He's, even in the locker room, he's more confident in his body language. It was hard. He was in and out of the lineup early on.
Yeah.
Completely different player.
Yeah, and not only that, I think what it is I think it was giving him more responsibility. Changed that dynamic for him.
Well, they put confidence in him.
Right.
They put confidence in. I had asked him, I think when we were in Arizona, and I said, what did they tell you about what to do on the power play? He's like, shoot the puck.
Yeah.
That's what they want him to do on the power play, and he's doing that.
Yeah. It's not like he has a huge shot, but it's kind of a heavy shot, right? So it kind of finds its way through traffic, and then if you got guys that are willing to go to the net, all of a sudden it creates rebound opportunities and opportunities for the team to score. So
we were talking about that the other day. Me, you, and Bundy were talking about how the days of seeing a Flyers team where there's a huge slap shot from the blue line doesn't happen anymore, right? Everything is so wrist shot oriented. It's you don't have a guy on this team, I think, who has the ability to drive one in the same way that you would have in yesterday.
But you have to remember, a wrist shot is a more accurate shot than a slap shot.
Yeah.
Because you can't control it once it's off the stick. But a wrist shot or snap shot has more accuracy. You can pinpoint it a little bit better. I've always been under the, I always think like a point shot should be a low shot on net, creates a rebound or creates an ability to tip it. If it's higher up, it's a little harder to do that. Yeah. So I think, and you're not going to get a Shea Weber on the point all the time. With the 100 mile per hour slap shot.
He had a heck of a cannon.
Oh my God, it's great.
Insane.
I love hearing you say that name.
You can tell where I'm from.
That really gives us the Brooklyn, right?
The Queens. Yep.
Yeah,
the Queens.
Russ
the
can't
Queens
get it right. Russ can't get it right. But the Brooklynese really comes out on Weber. Carter Hart gets a second start in a row tonight. They had been alternating him and Urs. They stick with Hart in this game tonight. Torts says don't look too much into it. I think it's just they're taking it game by game, and they still plan on using Erson a lot. What do you think about the concept of them kind of 50-50ing this thing between these two goals?
I think we've seen it work with other teams, right? Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark in Boston. Other teams are doing that now. It takes off. I don't think we're ever really going to see a guy who plays 70 plus 70 plus games starts 70 plus games anymore. And Sam has proven he can play, right? He's the first one to tell you he was not good at the beginning of the year. He's very self-aware about what was wrong and what he needs to do. I think there's no issue. I honestly think John Tortorella is taking it day by day.
And that's fair. I mean, you probably want to try and get guys that you think are going to match up best. And when you have two goalies who you can look at and say, hey, we have confidence regardless of which guy we put in there, that we think both of them can be number one caliber goalies. It's just you can take it game by game and say which one of these guys matches up better.
Yep.
Or if one of them gets really hot, you can then ride that guy a little bit, right? And still have the other guy be ready to go.
Look, this is the best dilemma. This is the best issue to have. And how often has Philadelphia had issues with goaltending in the past? So
forever.
I think this is like a win-win to have two guys that can really play. Okay. And that you're right. Like, when Carter was sick and not feeling well, and Sam basically started all those games.
Yeah.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great. So,
yes.
I think this is a good dilemma to have, and I think it should be 50-50 at this point. And where the games are, the travel, everything that goes into it.
It's a very busy month.
Yes.
So January is nuts with the amount of games this month.
Well, December there was 2 long road trips.
Right.
Both like 9-10 games or 10 days, excuse me, and far.
Yeah.
Not we weren't going down the road to play the Rangers or the Islanders or whatever. They were across the country or into Canada. So I think this is a good situation to have.
Yeah, for sure.
I just wanted to ask you, now that you've been settled in for long enough now, because the first time that you were on, if I remember correctly, you were getting ready to go out west, or it was around then, and you hadn't really gotten your feet totally under you. But now that what have you thought about covering this team, facilities, the people around the team? I'm not putting you in a bad spot here. This actually might be a good spot to put you in with this. But what have you found so far about covering this team versus prior stops you've had?
Well, my prior stops were all national. I wasn't covering a specific team, so it's a very different experience for me being around one team every day, basically. But I've really enjoyed it. Everyone's been great. I feel like I've been doing it for 20 years, to be honest with you. The only thing is I haven't really been in my apartment too often. So as much as I've been here on the beat now, I think it's about 10 weeks. I feel like I've only been in my apartment like 5, and it's like day here, day there, kind of thing. But sorry. This is also the one of the negatives is get sick with all the travel. But
hockey locker rooms are like a petri dish. It's perfectly
all
understandable.
The airplanes and everything. So
hopefully they don't have a door blow off like that Alaska Airlines thing.
Let's not bring that up. I'm already nervous.
I was in such a bad spot the other day because in a group chat, my best friend dropped the link to the video, and I knew my wife was going to see it. And my wife already is like hard to convince her to like want to travel. I'm like, well, next year for our 10-year anniversary, let's go somewhere. And I finally had her close to, I think, going for it, and then he sends the video of the Alaska Airlines thing, and now I'm thinking this is not going to be the kind of fun travel I wanted to do.
I'm not a great flyer.
Okay.
And I was taking something 10x to help a little bit, and I will say the last couple of flights I have not. I've gotten more used to it. Happy little clouds, when it's a little turbulent. Happy little clouds.
Happy little clouds.
But to be honest with you, watching that, I'm like, because I don't sit by the emergency door for a reason, because I'm worried. How many times you've heard? Not how many, but you hear about the door opening. And
sure.
It's like always a fear. I think it's always it's always in the back of your head.
And
excuse me, this wasn't even the door. This was just a random window on the plane.
No, it actually. So on that model, again, hockey tonight. On that model, it's actually what on a lot of other models is the emergency exit, like it is an emergency door.
All right, that makes
so I guess it's actually framed out for it, but they don't make it inaccessible. It's not like
I feel a little bit better.
If that makes anybody feel better out there, all right. And if anybody labels this video as misinformation now on YouTube,
there we go.
I'm just going off of what I heard. I think I heard on the Dan Lebitard show. So then pass it to them.
We're gonna get labeled.
And they can be the ones. They can be the ones to take the hit.
When I used to travel all the time, I used to embrace the opportunity to sit in the exit row.
I know people who do that.
Because to me, it was like, if something goes wrong, I'm the first one out. I'm gone.
You realize you're supposed to help the other people off the plane, right?
I'll help little kids and their moms get off the plane, and then I'm right behind them. That's it.
Wow. So if you've been on the Titanic, what you're telling me is everybody would have died.
No, I would have been just like the guy from who climbed on after all the women and children got on. I climb on too. Save one spot.
You would have pushed Rose off the door. You 1,000%
Rose, there was plenty of room on that door. Rose should have let Jack on.
Let us know.
Plenty of room on that door.
Let us know in the comments if you think Rose had enough room on that door or not. All right, let's get to what people were in here for. We're going to quiz Jackie really quick to see if she has a better feel for Philly, and then Ant and I are going to dive into some more. We're going to dive into some more analysis about Flyers Penguins. And I also want to bring up the Nylander contract. We can actually do that with you here, and then we'll transition into a little bit more preview of this game.
Okay.
But Anthony came up with a quiz. It's the most work he's done for this show in 3 years. And go ahead.
Well, I figured, Jackie, now you've been here, like you said,
participate in the comments,
for 10 weeks, okay? And I want to see how much you've gotten and learned and figured out about Philadelphia in your time.
I haven't really left my neighborhood, but sure.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's see what you got. Okay. First of all, we'll start easy. You call it a sub.
I do.
What
depends. Yes, but yeah.
What do we call it here in Philly?
A hoagie.
A hogie is correct.
That's a very nice job by somebody who grew up on Long Island.
I did not. Jesus, that's the worst one.
Yes,
sorry, no offense to anybody from Long Island, but obviously as a Brooklynite.
Not Staten Island?
No.
And you're stealing my bit. Go ahead.
Sorry. All right. Number 2, what part of the city was the Fresh Prince born in?
West Philadelphia, born and raised.
There you go. Wow. There you go. 2 for 2.
I could do the whole song if you want.
Oh, well, we already had intern Andrew sing that whole song before, so I think we're okay. But speaking of West Philadelphia, what facility that's located there, opened in 1874, was the first of its kind in the United States of America? It charged visitors at the time 25 cents to enter and experience over 1,000 unique things in varying enclosures.
Oh, is it the zoo?
The zoo.
3 for 3.
That's the first one?
3 for 3.
Really?
Ding, ding.
First one in America, yeah.
Oh, in America. I've been to the very first one, I think, in the world is in Vienna.
That's probably right. I think
it was awesome.
Intern Andrew's mom is saying you're crushing it.
So highly recommend.
Yes, yes. All right, so Philadelphia is separated from New Jersey by what river?
Oh, I don't know.
I can give you a clue.
It's not the Schuylkill.
It's not.
No, it's not.
I know that.
Yes.
It's misleading.
It's misleading.
It's misleading because it's not named after the correct state.
Oh, Delaware River?
The Delaware River. The Delaware River.
I was going to say the Monongahela Hill.
That's out west.
Don't ask me to spell that.
3.5.
But speaking of spelling, you did mention that there is another river that flows through the city. You said the Schuylkill.
Yeah.
So spell that one.
Okay. I should know this. SCHUYLKILL.
Very good. Right. See, this is what happens when you're a writer. You know how to spell things. We don't ever have typos. We don't ever have typos.
Grammarly is a great thing.
Grammarly is fantastic.
Again, rehashing this. I grew up in Schuylkill County. Imagine being a second grader and having to do that on a test.
Yes, that's kind of crazy.
As a second, that's hard.
On the question 6, on the east bank of that river, there is a historic site that, when work isn't being done, is all lit up and is visible from the expressway. What is that called?
Okay, I'm gonna take a guess on this because I don't know if I've actually passed by. Supposedly it's by kind of in my neighborhood. I'm gonna say the art museum.
It's close to the art museum, but that's not what I was saying.
Say it again. Can you ask the question again, please?
I'll ask. On the east bank of that river.
Okay.
Okay, so there's 2 sides to that, to the Schuylkill, right?
Usually that's how it works with a river.
Yes, on the east bank, there is a historic site that when work isn't being done, it's all lit up and it's visible from the expressway. So
it's a bunch of buildings.
Oh, I feel like I've seen this.
Yes. You must wonder what it is.
It's a bunch of buildings.
It's a bunch of buildings.
Yes.
I don't.
They're not big.
Disappointed. First miss. First miss. Boathouse Row.
Oh, I haven't even heard of. Oh no, actually, I think someone did mention that.
Yeah, it's all the boathouses are all lit up and it's great.
Pretty.
It's really cool. It is pretty.
So that was what, question 6?
That's question 6.
So she got 5.5 points out of 6. That's not bad.
We're all right. It was right near the art museum, so you were
okay. So I was close. I was
close. What Philadelphia brand snack food rivals Little Debbie's and Drake's when it comes to baked goods?
Tasty Cakes, and they're amazing.
Yes, and they are better than Little Debbie's.
I ate a 3-pack on my way down here.
The coffee one, the coffee cakes,
so good.
And the so usually before I moved to near Wawa's, whenever I passed by Wawa's, I had to go. So I had to get like the Italian sub or the Italian salad, very nice too. But I would always pick up like stuff like not to go like crazy, but like a tasty cake or what. I like the ones that like the vanilla with the cream.
Yes. I like
but that's about it.
See? That's
candy cakes, you got to put them in the freezer.
Oh,
what?
You do that.
The chocolate peanut butter ones. Yeah, the candy cakes. You got to put them in the freezer.
Another person.
Candy cake.
Drop your favorite tasty cake in the comments.
But I think I read the comment. I read the ingredients, and it was all artificial.
Oh, I'm sure it is, but it doesn't matter. It's still delicious.
We got people saying jelly crumpets. By the way,
I love crumpets.
butterscotch crumpets, man. Those are good too. Those are good. My favorite though are the chocolate with the chocolate icing with the white down the middle and the white on the inside.
That's good.
Those are next level. I ate a 3-pack on my way down here today.
Like a Twinkie's pretty good, although I haven't
Your
had one
screen
of those
just went out.
forever.
Did you mean to do that?
It's excellent. Now, question number 8. What famous character used to have a statue on the front steps of the Philadelphia Spectrum, home of the Flyers before the Wells Fargo Center? It was the home of the Flyers before the Wells Fargo Center. So there was a character who had a statue, and that statue has now been moved, and it's at its current location since 2006.
Is that the Rocky stuff?
The Rocky
it was outside.
Center.
It was outside the Spectrum.
Yes, it was across the street.
7.5 out of 8 points.
Never would have thought that.
Yeah.
I thought it was always at the
Hashtag
Art
Philly.
Museum.
No, that's where it's been there since 06. But that's
good to know.
Yeah.
Still haven't done that.
So 2006. That next year, this is kind of. I'm kind of doing this.
You didn't even tell me about this one.
Yeah, I'm good doing this just to kind of tweak her.
Okay.
That next year, what sports team famously choked away a 7-game lead with 17 games to play, allowing a Philadelphia team to win a division for the first time in 14 years and embark on a 5-year run of divisional dominance that included a world championship?
Well, obviously, Anthony, as a sports reporter, I don't root for any teams. But I know what team you're discussing. And it is the Rangers. They lost in the last game of the season.
No, it's not the Rangers.
That's not the Rangers?
No.
They lost in the last game of the season to the
I
Flyers.
didn't say 2007.
No, he said a 5-year run of dominance, which is also not true. Divisional dominance,
7-game lead with 17 to play.
They won a title, and then they fell off.
2007.
2007?
A team local to you ruined their second year of that divisional dominance.
I know it's your favorite team of all time, too.
I guess I don't know.
About the Mets.
Oh, you're talking baseball. I was talking hockey.
No, I
said sports team.
Said sports
He just
team.
says, you threw me off.
Yep.
Yeah,
7.5 out of 9.
I was just trying to get you with the Mets. The Mets choked it away. That's,
Hey, way to go on the statue,
that.
Ant. Yeah, people arguing about Kate Smith's statue in the comments now because you did a statue question. Way to go, Ant.
Good. That's
way
great.
to go.
Final question.
Rehash that one.
Speaking of your fine New York area,
Yes.
what famous food item is actually from there and not made or associated with Philadelphia whatsoever, despite everyone thinking it is?
Huh?
There is a famous food item
Yeah.
that everyone thinks or associates with Philadelphia,
The cheesesteaks.
but it's not. They're not
Okay.
made here.
But they're not made
It's not. It's not. I shouldn't say they. It's an actual.
Oh.
It's an actual thing. It's an actual brand of.
Oh, a brand.
Yeah, a brand of food.
Like a company.
Yeah. Well, it's part of. Well, the company that makes it is not what I'm looking for. I'm
This
just
is
looking for the name of
convoluted.
it. It's not that convoluted.
It is. We're gonna lose.
Okay.
We're gonna lose viewers.
I don't know
now.
if I got to. I have no. I've seen Entenmann's in Philadelphia, which I was very surprised by.
It's Philadelphia cream cheese.
Oh, okay. Now here, I'm gonna allow you because I'm a former teacher. I'm gonna allow you to get some bonus points here.
Yeah.
Okay. Russ
And
has
I'm
the
gonna
bonus.
I do
ask
like
you-
extra credit.
I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions because you finished with I think it was 7.5 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of
I
10.
think I only got 2 wrong.
All right, so 8.5 out of 10. Well, no, she had 2 wrong, so it's 7.5 out of 10. Yeah.
I don't do math, man. That's why.
Okay. So you are from Staten Island, and before New York was New York,
Yeah.
on the Manhattan area, it actually had a different name. Before it was New York, what was it called?
If you're a fan of the
I can help her with the song lyric.
Istanbul.
Wow. I feel
Constantinople.
this is very like I should know
Even
this.
old New York was once.
New Amsterdam.
There you go.
Yes.
Also, by the way, love They Might Be Giants.
They might be giants. I was going to say.
That's a point.
I was trying to give that.
That's
clue.
a point. So Jackie finishes with a very respectable 8.5
Very
out of
good.
10 when you factor in the extra credit. That is a B. But the way that American schools are trending, pretty soon that'll be an A+. So Jackie,
I'm a little disappointed
congratulations.
about the Mets question.
Yes, I am too.
You should have been a little bit more specific there.
I was trying to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah.
What did you think? What New York team is a total fraud and failed? That's what I wanted to
Well,
know.
there's a lot of New York teams that are told. Have you met the Jets?
Hey, you have any thoughts on the vaccine, or do you have any thoughts while we're talking about the Jets? Hey, before
Four plays into the year, man.
came out like Hulk Hogan with the flag, and then pretty soon, boop. Before you head out,
Yeah.
I wanted to get your thoughts because you used to have the, as you mentioned before, more of a national profile.
And I used to cover the Canadian teams.
Your thoughts on the Nylander contract? It's 8 years, 11.5
I want to know where the
AAV,
money's
I think,
coming
right?
from.
I don't know how they're doing
I want to know where the money's coming from because they, you have John Tavares signed. Yeah, you got to sign Marner. Matthews, I think, just signed his extension over the summer, if I remember correctly. Now
And
you
pulling
got to
up
pay.
Cat Friendly right
now
now.
you got to pull up Nylander. Like, where's the money coming from?
They're gonna have to move somebody.
Are you gonna have AHL players playing on your third and fourth lines?
Are they gonna put John
Morgan
Tavares?
Riley's probably due for an upgrade at some point.
Is Tavares gonna get put on an old Viking funeral pyre and they send him? Could they send him to the Southwest? Could we see Tavares head to Arizona?
I mean, just look. I mean, next year you're going to have 4 players making $11 million or more. I don't know how you're doing it. And then you got Morgan Riley at 7.5. I mean, it's craziness.
When's Morgan signed? Oh, he's signed for a while.
Yeah, Morgan Riley signed for a bit, and then you got Matthews is signed, and
this has always been the problem with the Leafs is that they can't sustain because they get top talent. But it's only like the top line or the top defensive pairing, and then after that, it's not very good. And let's not even get into their goaltending situation.
Yeah, their goaltending is terrible, right?
Everything is awful with them, and yet they think that doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on having an unbalanced, highly stacked roster where most of the cap is eaten up by 4 guys is a good plan. It's not.
It's not. And I will say that the negative thing out of this whole thing is that Sheldon Keefe is going to be made a scapegoat, and it should never be it should not come down to him making any. He's a great coach, and he's going to end up being the scapegoat in the end of this. And it really, I like Brad Trade-Living. I like what he did in Calgary at times. He had to make lemonade out of lemons or whatever it was with the Chuck stuff. Not wanting to sign and Johnny Gaudreau not deciding to re-sign in Calgary, and he makes those moves. And I saw a great quote great tweet. I can't remember who tweeted it, but it was basically like, why were you surprised that he gave Nylander everything he wanted after he gave Huberdeau everything he wanted?
It's true.
And what is Huberdeau doing in Calgary right now? His goal the other night was, I think, one of his first ones in God knows how long.
Yeah, forever, right?
Yeah, I don't really know what they're doing up there.
I'll tell you what, if they need another executive who just gives players whatever they want, including no movement and no trade clauses to guys who don't deserve them, there's a guy who used to work here who's looking for a job. So,
and his dad was a famous Leafs executive in the past.
I don't remember his name though. We dare not say.
Are we talking about Craig Berube?
No.
Fletcher Moore.
Hey, how much don't be I was going to say that Craig Berube has already told someone that he would love to coach the Leafs. So
of course he would. He would love to coach the Leafs because he knows he'll get paid.
It will be. You know what though? I do think that the Nylander thing, if nothing else, that is going to effectively kill any pursuit that they might have had in Rasmus Ristolainen, unless they're going to send a contract to some value back here. Which again, when you're looking at the rebuild, and even if you're looking at expediting your timeline a bit, you're not going to want to eat a bad deal just for the sake of getting off of Risto's contract. And by the way, he hasn't been awful.
No.
So,
I mean, look, if they want to send Matthew Nyes this way, if they want to send Cowan this way, why not? I mean, those guys are young. They're good.
Sure.
They're not Matthew Robertson, I think it is. That's the Robertson. Yeah, because he's Jason's brother.
Yeah.
Matthew Robertson is not getting playing time up in Toronto right now. Send him here.
Yeah.
Send him here. He's talented. He's got talent. He just can't fit into the lineup right now.
Jackie Spiegel from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Make sure you check her work out there. And how can people follow you on the Twitter?
At Jackie Spiegel 93.
Oh, easy enough.
Easy enough.
Very simple.
And feel free to send what else I should check out in Philadelphia
There you go.
for the few days I'm here a month.
send it along to Jackie. Jackie, thank you once again.
Thank you guys.
We'll
Appreciate
have you back on again soon.
Another quiz?
I don't know.
Jackie's practically a Philadelphian. Yeah.
That's too much work for me.
Now you're gonna have to learn about Delco, where Anthony is the
There
biggest
you go.
celebrity. That's what
Delco.
they're saying.
By the way, I recently learned that actually stands for Delaware County. Did not know that.
Yes.
I know a lot of people from Delco, and I was like, oh, you guys all live in the same town. That's great.
No. Delco is if it was its own city, it would be larger than Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Delco is southeastern Pennsylvania, Schuylkill County, and no one can tell me differently.
Okay.
All right.
Jackie, thanks for coming on the
Appreciate
show. All right, Anthony,
Did you get Bundy's pick?
I'm trying to get it right now.
Okay. Well, what's yours?
I haven't had the time to think about this. Give me a second.
You haven't had time to think about it.
Well,
You've been down in the building since what?
I
5 o'clock.
had a lot to do today, Anthony. So let's see. The Penguins split their last 4 games. Won the 2 before. Let's talk about the game first before we get into the pick.
We only have like 2 minutes.
No, we have 4.5 minutes. I'm looking at the clock up there. All right. Jackie, I have to say, Jackie's jump from her first appearance to her second appearance here on the Press Row Show, night and day. She was nervous when she first came on.
She's great.
And now this time, chopping it up like we're, old pals. I thought that she'd been on the show a bunch of times.
You know what I call this?
What's that?
Stalling.
Well, speaking of Stahl, Mark Stahl, is he in the lineup tonight? Is he in the?
No, I don't think so. I think it's the same lineup as last game.
Speaking of places that Anthony has to pee, the stall. All right. Yeah. That was in the intern Andrew poem.
Yes, it was.
All right, fine. I think that. What was the last time the teams played? What was the score last time they played? I don't remember. Do you remember?
No. Can you make a pick, please?
It was what? 2-1?
Yeah.
Hearts in net?
Yes.
5-3 Pens.
5-3 Pens.
5-3 Pens. Yeah.
All right.
You can't steal my pick like you did last time.
No, I'm not going. That's way too much offense in this game.
No, it's not.
I'm going to go. I actually think Pittsburgh is going to win this game. I actually think it's going to be a close game.
Oh, here he goes.
I think this could be an overtime / shootout type game, but I'll take the Penguins 3-2 in this one. 3-2 Pittsburgh.
By the way, I think the 5-3 is an empty netter. I think the fifth goal is an empty netter.
Okay.
I think that the game is close most of the. Actually, I think at some point Pittsburgh's going to go up by 2. Flyers are going to claw a goal back, but it's going to be too little, too late. Maybe they get it with the empty net, and then it comes back to bite them. So, anyway.
Did you get intern Andrew's pick over there?
Intern Andrew, what's your pick? He says 3-2 Penguins, not happy about it.
Oh, look at him.
So he took the same pick. He needs to put his pick in early. He usually does. On the road games, he's the first one in.
He's always the first one.
So 3-2 for both of you, 5-3 for me. Bundy remains to be seen. We'll have that over on Twitter. A big thank you to everybody who joined in. This is one of our larger pregame audiences across all platforms, which you'll love to see.
Good
and then,
stuff.
of course, we want to remind people, as you can see up above us, the Clearwater combo trip. We're going to be doing a trip to Clearwater where we're going to go watch the Phillies and Astros in a spring training game on a Friday. And then the next day, the Flyers play the Tampa Bay Lightning, so we'll be going to that. There's going to be a meet and greet and a whole bunch of other stuff in between. So head over to phillysportstrips.com/trips/snow the goalie, or just go to phillysportstrips.com, click on the trips tab, and click on the trip. What?
I love how everybody's ripping us for not having faith in the Flyers tonight. I've picked them the last 3 games.
I mean, in fairness, I think you picked them a lot, and it's come back to bite you.
Yes,
which is why you're doing so poorly in the standings.
It has come back to bite me.
But anyway, the Penguins are on a much better roll over their last 7 or 8 games.
They're 8-3-2 in the last 13 games.
So I don't know why people are still why people are, I guess, down on the fact we're not going to pick the Flyers every game.
Right.
That's insane. It's a rebuild, guys and gals and people. Let's go. Anyway, make sure you share the show. You let people know about the Press Road Show. We'll be back for first intermission, second intermission, and postgame. We might have a guest. We might grab somebody, bring them on. If you haven't done so in the podcast feed and on YouTube, you can go back and watch the last Press Row Show where we were joined by Cindy Stutman. We were joined by Serena Snyder. Dan Hilferty made an appearance. John LeClaire was on. And Ike Richmond. That was all for the Ed Snyder Legacy game. So we had a lot there. All that is available in the podcast feed as well. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. So for Anthony, for intern Andrew, for Bundy, who will be here for first intermission, I'm Russ. We'll talk to all of you after the first period. We'll see how those Flyers do against their cross-state rivals, the Pittsburgh Penguins, in the Battle of the Keystone State. Talk to you soon. there. I'm sure that the thing that all of you are here to talk about is the Flyers being down 2-1 at the end of one period, or perhaps you're here because massive breaking news happened during that period. The Flyers, they've made a move, and it is not one that has been well received on social media. The Flyers have traded Cutter Gauthier to Anaheim for defenseman Jamie Drysdale. Now, before we get into it, I'm going to let you know, Danny Briere is going to be meeting with the media during this first intermission.
And it could be any minute.
I'll mute this really quick. I don't know. So intern Andrew
they're setting up.
They're
for
setting
Briere.
up over there. We'll throw it to them when Briere comes out.
Just so you know, the first question I thought is, and when I saw Frank Saravalli from TSN who'd said that he got traded because he didn't want to play here. I'd never heard that, but then I found out he was really good friends with Kevin Hayes. And then everything started to make a lot of sense.
So there are a few things that we're going to have to get into about this. One, there has been a persistent rumor behind the scenes for a few months, and this goes back to camp and his decision not to join camp. We talked about it at the time. We're going to get into this. There's a lot to break down. I don't want to dive too far into something and then have to backtrack when Briere comes on. We will have Dan Hilferty, the chairman of Comcast Spectacor, with us here at the desk in the second intermission. So Dan Hilferty will be with us to talk about this move in the second intermission, which is massive. If you have not already done so, subscribe to this channel on YouTube, follow us on social media, and please share the link to everyone you know, because that is going to be an interview you're not going to want to miss. But there has been a persistent rumor now, going back to when Gauthier decided not to join camp in the offseason. And we talked about it at the time about how some guys, they want to try to give their bodies a break, all that. There was another murmur that he didn't want to play for Torts, which we kind of inquired about. We hadn't really gotten verification on it from enough people to report it. Okay, fine. He has a heck of a showing at World Juniors, not in terms of goal scoring. We talked about whether it's impressive or not. He did lead the tournament in points. He did, win an award for being the best forward there. It is a huge move. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that when Danny Briere was on our show, and I'm going to throw this up here just for when Briere comes out. When Briere came on this show, November 24th, we talked to him about the rebuild, about if the team would look to buy at the deadline, if they look to sell at the deadline. And one of the pieces that he mentioned being a key part of this rebuild was Cutter Gauthier. We go back to the offseason when we first interviewed him. Cutter Gauthier was meant to be part of the rebuild. Let's go to Danny Briere.
All right. It's been going on for a while. We tried to give him space. We tried to get in touch with him many times. He would not communicate as far as the Gauthier side. So at some point we had to make a decision, and we thought with what happened just a few days ago, this was our time to probably get the highest value. Not very often you get the chance to find a Jamie Drysdale that you can add to your lineup. When that came about, his name was made available. We got really excited. The chance to add a player of his caliber to a premium position as a right shot defenseman for a left winger just made a lot of sense, and we felt it was the right time to do it.
Would you say this goes back a long time? Does this go back to him not wanting to come to camp in the summer?
It does. And the reason why we didn't want to say anything was not to hide anything from our great fans. It was to try to protect the kid. We were hoping that at some point he would change his mind. I mean, he had already changed his mind. He looked at us at the draft and told us he was built to be a Flyer, wanted to be a Flyer, and then a few months later told us that he didn't want to be a Flyer, didn't want to play for the Flyers. So in our mind at first, we said we have to protect him. We have to, because if he changes his mind again, and it's out there that he doesn't want to play, it's going to be tough for him to put the uniform on. But when we realized that they refused to talk to us, now it's been months, and he didn't want to be a Flyer, didn't want to be in Philadelphia. it was time to make it happen. It goes back. They told us when he came back from the World Championship last May, I believe.
Why did he not want to be a Flyer? Why did he not want to be in Philadelphia?
I don't know. We never got an answer. So I don't know much more than that.
Just how surprising is it, Danny, given he was pretty gung-ho about being a Flyer when you guys drafted him? Are you blown away that he's not want to come?
We were when it happened. I mean, now at this point, it is what it is. We started looking at how can we turn this and make the most of it. And I have to say, like I have to thank all the other teams that were involved, the teams that called us about him to keep it kind of on the down low, keep it secret. Just in case he changed his mind again. But we realized, especially when Jamie's name came up, this was a pretty special player, we felt, and the chance to add him, they don't come very often. So Jamie's an exciting player. There's going to be an adjustment period, we feel, because of the style of play in Anaheim to our style of play. But in the long term, I think he's going to be a fantastic player.
How long were you and Keith went to Sweden, right?
Yep.
Did something happen over there? Or what happened?
Nothing happened. We tried to, but they would not engage as far as a reason why, or if we just wanted to be able to present our case and tell them what we were doing here and where this organization is going. Unfortunately, we never got the chance.
When you mentioned Jamie's name came up, did this kind of deal come quickly? Is like you said, like when the name comes available, it kind of just gets itself going and then kind of just moves very quickly?
I don't know that it came quickly. It was still a while, but Jamie was hurt to start the season. Just recently started playing again. We wanted to see him play. But from the get-go, when his name came up, we got really excited.
What are you hoping to see from him? What are you hoping to see from Jamie? And is there any concerns with his injuries?
No. That's part of the reason of the last day we've been looking at medical news, changing all that with them. We feel comfortable that what's happened in the past is all good. And after watching him play the last couple weeks, he's clearly looking like he's back to full health, so we're really excited.
How long did you seriously
about the importance of this team adding high-end talent? I think a lot of people looked at it and they said, Mitchkov and Gauthier, they can be those guys.
Yeah.
Do you think Drysdale can be that guy for this team?
Yes, Drysdale's a highly talented player that's a very smooth skater as well, all-around defenseman. I see him being part of a top pair defenseman for a long time here for the Flyers.
How long have you been in discussions with teams for this trade?
Well, some of the teams started finding out in the summertime, probably around the draft time. It's probably when we started having different discussions. So we did have a lot of discussion, but clearly Jamie was a high priority.
Dan, you heard Bob Murray's a guy with a lot of familiarity.
Yeah.
What was Bob's?
Bob was like a lot of people raving about his character, about his leadership. What we keep hearing is, fantastic person to start with, and that's important to us too. The way you see our players play, you see our team play, they care about each other. We needed good quality people coming in, and he certainly fits the bill.
You've done this before with players wanting to come and unusual.
No, I know. I'll be honest, especially the Philadelphia Flyers. I know when I was a free agent, that was my first choice. That's why I signed him here, obviously. But I haven't heard very many players over the course of my career ever say anything bad about the Flyers organization.
You worried might be a precedent?
No, not at all. Not at all. Especially in the direction we're going in. Especially with everything that's being done here. It's a first-class organization. I have no doubt that it's not the case. We don't know why. It might not even be related to that. There might be something that we don't know about, or we clearly don't know about, but I really don't know what it is.
Is there a little bit of disappointment that we didn't work out with Cutter, considering how
important? At first, yes. I mean, when he told us, there's a period of time where we were disappointed that he didn't want to play here. But at some point, you got to move on, and we had done that, and after we felt this was the best time to get the most value for him after the World Juniors that just finished, that probably helped finish the deal or close the deal.
Danny, can you disclose who his agent is, and do you have a good relationship with that agent? Cutter's agent?
Yeah, the relationship is fine. I don't know if I'm allowed to say who the agent is, but I'm sure you can find that out. But no, the relationship is fine with the agent. I really don't know why. You guys can probably find out more than me why he didn't want to play here.
You talked about value.
More questions?
You talked about value. Cutter was obviously the 5th overall pick. Do you feel like the value coming back is worth what you guys are believing you giving up in Cutter?
We believe so. That's why we were ready to move and make the trade. Jamie Drysdale was a 6th overall pick. Really good defenseman that's going to be here, and also only 21 years old. So that was also very important for us. When you look at what our coaching staff has done with our defensemen, that gives me a lot of hope that they can make this kid even better. So that's really exciting to me.
Where are you seeing him? Where are you seeing him fit in the lineup? And
I don't know. Right now, it's what's that?
He's not going to go down to Lehigh Valley.
Oh no. He's an NHL ready defenseman.
No,
he's ready to play. He's going to be a big part of our team. I don't know early on where he's going to play, but this is a really special player that we're getting. It's going to be here for a long time.
Were you specifically targeting a defenseman in a trade back for Gauthier? I know obviously there was some thought that he could be a center. You called him a left wing at the start of this.
So part of it too is we said it from the get-go. We wanted to build from the back end. That was a priority for us. Now, it's exciting to see the improvement of our defenseman, Cameo, Sandline especially. So he's going to fit in with those guys. So it's another piece of the puzzle for us. We were looking at the position of premium. If we were going to move him, it was going to be for a position of premium, either a center or a defenseman, preferably a right shot defenseman. And as far as Cutter, we saw him more as a winger. And when you look at Anaheim, they have a ton of defensemen. They have really strong down the middle, so they could afford to spare defensemen. So I'm hoping it's a trade that works for everybody.
When do you envision 2 more here by Wednesday or for the road trip?
I'm not sure. Our team service guy is going to reach out to him, Ryan, and we're going to try to get him here as soon as possible. Hopefully, sometimes here, maybe tomorrow during the day, and maybe he can play on Wednesday. We'll see when he gets in and how he feels.
Last one. Okay, thanks, Danny.
Good. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. We'll do it.
All right.
Well, there's a lot
to unpack.
Boy, oh boy, you talk about a lot to unpack, and there's a lot, and we want to thank everybody who's joining us. If you're a first-time viewer of the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show, there's a lot. I mean, there's so much to get into, and usually we have the freedom to speak exactly how we want with the language that we want. Press Row Show, we can't. There is going to be a lot to be made of a few things. One, Danny Briere there confirms that Cutter Gauthier had no contact with the team.
Wouldn't
for
answer
months.
the phone.
Wouldn't answer the phone.
Okay, so now we're hearing about
let's
stuff
start
that's
there.
gone on. So I mean that's unbelievable. First of all, Cutter Gauthier, you and your agent are a disgrace. I'm looking right at the camera. If that's really what happened, you wouldn't take the GM's call that drafted you 5th overall.
He's the assistant, but yeah.
And your agent are disgraceful.
That's awful.
So I wish you luck in Anaheim. I don't really care about the player right now. I care more about what's coming back here.
Yeah.
I need to see a little bit more of Drysdale. I don't. Again, he's a 21-year-old 6th overall pick in 2020. I like the 2nd rounder coming back with him, but I'm going to be honest with you. We talked about Gauthier last week, and I know there's a little bit. Anthony is back. He can jump on for a minute too. I never loved Gauthier. I thought he was soft. I thought he liked the corners about as much as Johnny Gaudreau in the first game here in Philly.
In fairness, these aren't sour grapes. You were saying this last week. You've been saying it for a few weeks.
He doesn't play a physical brand of hockey. I think he's soft. I think he's physically weak in terms of getting in the corners and making a hard play. And I'll be honest with you, I think the biggest thing is if he didn't want to come here and play for John Tortorella, then that's probably the most. I don't even know if that. But there has to be a reason.
I don't even care about the torts part of this because again, That was a thing in the offseason. There were murmurings that might have been the issue. It might have been a torts issue. But the bigger issue I have is if you don't want to play, if you don't want to play for a coach, that's one thing. But what Danny Briere just said is, this guy said when he was drafted by Chuck Fletcher that he wanted to be a Flyer. He wanted to be a Flyer. And then at some point, presumably around World Championships, if we heard correctly, is when communication stopped and he no longer wanted to be a Flyer. And I will not go into reckless journalism here. But there is one guy who used to play here who it is well known is a friend of Cutter Gauthier, and that is Kevin Hayes. And Kevin Hayes was not well liked in this organization, and Kevin Hayes was shipped out of town.
The management and Russ. So hold on, Russ. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Just for a second. I've been listening for 3 minutes. All right. You can go to certain players in that room and they love Kevin Hayes.
Yes.
All right. You go to management or coaching staffs that any played for, he's a complete loser. All right. And then if he's getting in the head of the 5th overall pick that's coming here, that's not what we want.
You know what? And maybe, one of the things when you hear Torts say that was a change that was needed in the locker room. We needed to get rid of somebody like that. Maybe it extends beyond the locker room. Maybe it extends to his influences on players who were not present with the team yet. Yeah. Like, I think that's what Russ is suggesting there, Bundy, and that maybe that because Hayes and Gauthier have a connection, that maybe there was a little bit of a negative influence there.
100%. I guarantee you that Hayes went to him and said, you know what? Don't go play in Philly.
Yeah,
don't go play there, because you know what? Torts is going to get in your wheelhouse, and take a look at the Flyers. Look what he did to Morgan Fox. And you know what? It's not hard now in the society we live in today to convince some 19-year-old that life might actually be hard in the NHL because the coach is hard. Oh, my God. Isn't that amazing?
I think it goes beyond that. And again, this is why I don't like the idea of collateral damage, okay? However, there are elements to what Kevin Hayes brought to the locker room, especially the influence on younger players, that were viewed by people in this organization as detrimental. And if what that means is him being gone has helped to get those guys out from under that sphere of influence, if that costs you ultimately Cutter Gauthier, it's a bummer if you're a fan, especially because you've been told, and we said back in November, Danny Briere was on this show at this desk and talked about him being part of the rebuild. Things change, and they change very quickly in this league.
Okay, I got one more thing to add to this. All right, you're talking about
quickly. We have 20 seconds.
Yeah, I know. Where the hell was I with this, Russ? You just got me all fried up in the head right now.
We are going to be back in the second intermission with Comcast Spectacor chairman.
I'll tell you what it is. All right, Gauthier. Someone said I don't want a plumber here. That's not what I wanted. But when you're a skilled player, the best skilled players are the ones that play hard in the corners and are physical with the puck. That's what I mean by being physical. He doesn't know what a corner is. If he went in with 12 eggs in his pants, he'd walk out with 12 eggs after 3 guys went to hit him, because it would never happen. See you next intermission.
Dan Hilferty joins the second intermission. We'll talk to you soon.
You're the best.
Hello, we're just doing a very quick mic check before Dan Hilferty comes on in the second intermission. Dan?
Check 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2.
The hype is real. Talk to you in the second intermission.
All right, one last test before we get ready to go live.
Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1,
All right,
2,
we'll talk to
3,
you
4,
second intermission.
5,
Welcome into the Press Row Show, the number 1 rated pregame, intermission, postgame show this side of the Mississippi. You want answers, we'll give you answers. Joining the show is the man, Comcast Spectacor chairman, Dan Hilferty, joins the show. Hey, a perfectly normal night, nothing big going on.
No.
Battle of the Keystone State.
Keystone State battle, 3-1. We'll come back.
Yeah, nothing else is happening.
No, nothing, Anthony. It's just a usual night in Philadelphia.
Another day on the job.
So, Dan, look, I mean, what happened tonight with you guys trading Cutter Gauthier to the Anaheim Ducks for Jamie Drysdale and a 2025 second-round pick? This doesn't happen every day.
No.
Nor does it happen every day in the middle of a season in January. Can you kind of take us through what took place here and how this kind of came to be?
Yeah, first of all, Anthony, I have to say that I thought Danny, if anybody had a chance to watch Danny's or has heard about Danny's press conference.
Yeah, we had it. Yep.
He really hit on it. So we had a really good inkling this summer that Cutter was not interested in coming to Philadelphia. Continued to have conversations through his representatives, had a conversation with parents, and it was very clear as we came into the season that his mind was made up, that he did not want to be in Philadelphia. We were thrilled that it was kept under wraps. We as a group decided that we were going to look to see if we could get the best possible return for Cutter. And Danny and Keith have worked very hard over the last several months. I have to say, from the business side, they have kept me in tune. And what I'm most proud of tonight is this. We said to the fans as we came in, this new regime, this new era of orange, that we would be upfront and honest with you. This started because this young man did not want to come to Philadelphia.
Did that surprise you?
It really did. Hey, look, first of all, I got to put my fan hat on.
Yeah.
I'm a Philadelphia guy, and what it comes down to for me ultimately, and Chris, you get this, so is if you want to be in Philadelphia, so be it. Go somewhere else. We want somebody that wants to be in this city, wants to be part of the fabric of this city, wants to be just excited to put that uniform on every single day. So then you fast forward, and you get a guy like Jamie Drysdale, 21-year-old, 6th pick in the 2020 draft, in a very deep draft.
Right.
And so we get a top-line defender who will be with us for years and years. And as Danny and Keith have said consistently, we're building this team from the back. And so it's exciting. Then you throw a second-round pick in 2025, which, according to those guys, remember, I'm just a fan. But you throw in a second-round pick, which will probably be a high pick in 2025.
That's great. That's a great little addition into the trade. Does it, when you look at things like this, and you say he wants to go somewhere else, more power to him, go to somewhere else. But how important is it with the culture that you guys are trying to create, that you have people here who are bought into everything that you're doing right from the beginning? And it's almost like as soon as you find out that, okay, this isn't you're not going to be part of this, we're okay with saying see you later.
Yeah, that's what's exciting to me is, and look, I understand that we are hell bent on building this the right way and doing the things we need to do to ensure that year after year we can contend. What I like, though, is that this deal is additive, and we're not losing anything from this incredible locker room, this group of guys that hang together day in and day out, fighting as hard as they can tonight and every single night. So to your point, Anthony, there's something about the spirit of the Philadelphia Flyers. There's something about the crowds that we're beginning to get here. And I got to tell you, I just can't wait to see this kid come and skate and join this group.
That is the light at the end of the tunnel, is as much hope as people knew. And I commend, I'll tell you one thing, Jonesy and Danny and you keeping that button lip like no one knew about it. Because we were even saying last week, Russ, like, hey, that the move at the deadline, maybe getting a Cutter Gauthier or someone else that's done junior or college. Have you ever, this is a weird one for me, Dan, because, and I think Anthony feels it too, we've never seen someone not want to be part of the Philadelphia Flyers, especially guys that were drafted. This happened with other teams. We've acquired a guy that played here, but never have I seen somebody in the sport of hockey not want to play here. There's J.D. Drew, there's Scott Rowland, there's guys in other sports, but this is a really bizarre one.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that they actually had the time to look through it and be concise in finding something that they felt could happen now. Why did it happen now?
Well, just think about it. The U.S. had such a successful Junior Worlds. Cutter had a great tournament, and in the end, I think he was the most valuable offensive player.
Yeah, and leading scorer.
So his value would not be any higher. And once word got out, and eventually word would get out, we would lose value. I just commend Danny and Keith and Torts, the way they worked together, talked about it. I was kept abreast. Obviously, I'm not going to make those decisions, but it was really clear to me that they were excited. The GM's box tonight, they are so excited about this young man. Hey, let's be real though. This kid was the 5th pick in the draft.
Yeah.
He's a player, and he's going to be a good player, maybe a great player in the NHL. You don't like to lose that, but this was the hand we were dealt. We acted decisively, and we got real value back for him.
Well, I want to take you kind of back to your prior career and see if there's a parallel here.
I was thinking that too.
Because
he wasn't prepared for this. He wasn't prepared for this.
So, working in healthcare, not a fun job. Certainly hard negotiations. Sometimes you feel like somebody's saying something to your face, and behind the scenes, they might not be giving you 100% of the truth. Did you at any point, as this was going on with Cutter, with his camp, with the cutoff of communication, does the old CEO part of you kind of go into hyperdrive of how do we get ourselves into an advantageous position and get ahead of this? Because as Danny said, teams started finding out about this in the offseason, or the rumors of it.
Rumors.
How critical was it to get ahead of it and to make sure that you weren't making a bad move as a reactionary thing?
Yeah, Russ, I wish I could tell you that in the healthcare space, and it wasn't all bad. I had some fun, but in the healthcare space, I was in the Keith and Danny role. I mean, I knew the league, so to speak, and I knew who I was dealing with day in and day out. I was really on a learning curve during this. What I will tell you is, and I've got to be very clear about this, we were never deceived by the Cutter team.
Okay.
Never deceived. They were upfront about it, and I have to be really clear about that. I'm the eternal optimist. Just like on doing a healthcare deal, we'll get that deal done. We'll get that deal done. Sometimes you didn't get it done, and Danny, I'd say I was the optimist, and Danny was the pragmatist, and Keith was the realist in the whole thing. Like he just thought this isn't going to fly. So I would like to say I was taking control. I was a passenger giving advice and hoping that we would get max value in return, and we clearly did.
Was there ever a point, Dan, where you guys questioned why this was happening? And if so, did you really convince yourself of any answers as to why it was happening?
Well, you know what? It's interesting. We early last summer, when I really became in tune with the situation, we did question, like, was it something about the change in leadership? Was it coaching? Was it? And what became clear as we don't know the answer. To this day, we don't know the clear answer. And I got to tell you, there's a level of relief that now we can move on. Jonesy spoke to Jamie. Jamie's sad. Jamie is beloved in that locker room, and he's really tight with that group. And Chris, you know how that is in a room. So he's upset about leaving his friends, but in the next breath, he's like, this is going to be fun. And so that's how we feel about it. Time to move on. I feel bad for Cutter when he comes to. Well, I don't really feel bad for Cutter when he comes to Philadelphia, but
it's going to be a rough ride here.
It's going to be a rough ride here, and he earned it. Because you know what? We're Philadelphians, and that's how we want people who want to be here with us.
I can promise you that. I can promise you this. You might have had problems selling tickets to the Anaheim Ducks when they came in every year in the past. You're not going to have a problem selling tickets to the Anaheim Ducks.
That's two games that you've actually locked up, Dan. Now you've got the Snyder Legacy game, which we know will be sold out, and we got Anaheim.
Yeah.
All in 48 hours.
48 hours. See that?
That's
but you know what? I do see one of the readers saying, or one of the listeners saying, tell us how they screwed it up. I think the truth of the matter is we didn't screw it up. We were faced with a situation. I think we would have screwed it up if we had let this play out. It became very public, and we would have had no choice. We got a number 6 pick in a very strong draft, a 21-year-old right-handed defenseman who's going to, it'll take him time to fit into the system, but he's going to be a heck of a player.
And the pick.
And one thing on that, Dan, when you look at what Brad Shaw has done with this group of defensemen that you had this year, like, keep in mind, probably the biggest surprise for everybody this year has been how well your defensive core has played. You give a coach like that an opportunity to work with a young player, you maybe be able to get something out of him that maybe he wasn't able to show in Anaheim in a system there where, let's be honest, their defensive system has been a disaster. I know you can't criticize them. We can. Their defensive system has been a disaster in Anaheim for the past few years. So maybe you give a defensive-minded coach that kind of a player and be able to mold them in the right way.
Yeah, I have watched Brad again from afar as a business person and as a fan, and just to watch him work one-on-one with those guys, with them as a group, is really impressive. And if I'm a young guy like Jamie Drysdale, I'm going to be excited about joining that core.
I know I have one question because we've seen a lot of it. And we're going to have to go right to the top to ensure people that this is not the same scenario with Mishkov.
I'll say that
with
again.
Mishkov is not the same scenario as Cutter Gauthier.
We have every indication. Obviously, Mishkov is under contract for his Russian Federation team. Truth of the matter is, he can't wait to be a Philadelphia Flyer. And I don't know about you, looking at tape, I can't believe this kid does some of the things he does.
That's fantastic.
So and take it to Danny and Keith and Barry Hanrahan. They will figure out, working with the Russians, what's the best time to get this young man out. But as far as I'm concerned, the sooner the better.
Yeah, he's something special, Dan, the stuff he does every night. And I know, and we know, that's why I was asking from the draft, he loves it here. He just can't wait to get over here. But the situation is what it is. Third period coming up. We mentioned we came on down 3-1. What are you seeing in the game so far tonight?
Well, I'll tell you, I thought we got off to a slow start, and they were crisp. They were crisp in that first period. The third goal, their third goal, was kind of frustrating, but this team never gives up. So I think this first 5-6 minutes of the third period will be really important for us. By the way, didn't I sound like a hockey expert? Right?
That's why we asked you the We'll have you one by the end of the year, pal.
Keep working on me.
By the end of the year, you're going to replace Bundy. That's
right. No way.
Dan Hilferty, thank you so much for coming on.
Anthony, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
I am so amazed at the following you have, and I think it's so great. But the one thing I want everybody to understand is we will try to. We couldn't talk about this. Think about it. Yeah. We had to maintain silence in order to get the best return. So the only point I want to make, we said from the beginning we will bring you along in this journey. I hope in the end you're pleased with this, but you'll always get the truth from us.
You know how good you guys were at keeping this a secret?
That's really good.
Even I didn't know.
That's a good point, Anthony. Yeah.
Even I didn't know about this one.
Yeah. Well,
Dan Hilferty, thank you once again. Thanks for coming on. Dan Hilferty.
In the grand scheme of things, when you look at a team making a move like this team just made, you don't usually get the guy who's at the top of the organization to come on and to give you straight truth and straight talk. And when you talk about how important it is to understand this fan base and to understand what people are going to be feeling.
Yeah.
Did he just tap into that? Because I would say he certainly did. Aware of the way that it's going to be perceived. Aware of the way that the fans are going to react to it. And honestly, putting on the fan hat there for a bit, not mincing words about what he expects Cutter Gauthier to walk into or skate into if he ever plays in the NHL and plays here in Philadelphia.
I mean, and we were joking about it, but he just sold out the building for 2 games, absolutely guaranteed.
Yep.
Oh, 1,000%.
Like, and so that, I mean, I know they didn't make that trade for that, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, you know what? This is it's a bizarre evening because we're just not used to seeing a guy say, I'm not going to come play in Philly. That is unbelievable. But what's even more unbelievable, we said it, they really kept that thing under wraps.
They did. And there's one thing I want to throw, and I know we really don't have a lot of time here. We got 3 minutes before the end of the period. But there is one little bit of news, and I shared it with you guys. I won't say it's news, but a little tidbit that ties into this. And I shared it with you guys before the intermission, before we came on in the intermission. I would say, and I know you guys mentioned it at the very, very end of the first intermission, but I've talked to somebody in the organization. Kevin Hayes' fingerprints are all over this.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
I knew, as soon as I read his name next to it, I knew right away. Dude, he poisoned Krug, he poisoned this guy. So you know what, he's got a vendetta. He's a little, I don't want to say it. I'll say it in the real show. You know what he does? He goes around, he's angry at what happened here, right?
Yep.
I'm going to tell everybody this. This is a true story from management beginning of the year. I'm not going to say who. They were prepared to give this guy away, literally give him away, and eat half the salary if anybody would take him if St. Louis didn't. They wanted him out of the locker room so bad, they were willing to do anything to make him disappear. Now, that's not comfortable hearing that or having that happen to you, but in return, you're going to poison the well if you can. And in the world we live in with social media, it's easy to get a hold of guys. It's easy to go say, oh, this Torts will bench you. Look what he did to Frost. Oh, he hates young guys. He'll never like you. And you know what? When guys hear that, you can scare a 19-year-old kid, scare the pants off him and his parents too. You know what? I don't know in Boston College if they have like a little group there that they get all together and they all do it, but I'll tell you one thing. That's not the right message if you're a guy that's played in this league a long time to be poisoning the well for other guys. And I do believe it happened.
And it's going to get worse. I mean,
go ask Craig Berube what he thought of his player this year in St. Louis. Get the real answer. Go ask Craig Berube what he thought of Kevin Hayes.
Again, we come back to, this was mentioned in the first intermission. There are guys in this locker room who really like Kevin Hayes.
Yes.
And there were a lot of people in this organization who did not. And it is the same way in St. Louis, and I'm assuming it's been the same way everywhere he's been. This will not play well in the National Hockey League. This will not play well.
It's a bad look for the league.
Yes.
And it's a bad look for the guy who's going around doing it, because you know what it does? It shows how ungrateful he is. Who else paid him $7.5 million a year for 7 years or whatever it was? So you know what he does? He goes out and poisons a well to someone that did. And I absolutely believe it happened. 1,000%.
The one last thing is I think that there's going to have to be another move eventually here.
Yeah,
yes,
it's kind of disrupted a little bit in terms
of...
have
too many defensemen.
Too many D-men, yeah.
So. Something's going to have to give, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but something is going to have to give at some point. We'll see. There's going to have to be another shoe that drops. I'll get to work on that, guys.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it post-game.
Figuring it out.
Guys that would make the most sense as of right now, there's been interest in Walker. There's been interest in Ristolainen. Although the Nylander move in Toronto, maybe that makes things a little bit more complicated. Sealer. We're going to break all this down post-game. There's a lot more to get into with this. So make sure you join. Make sure you share this with other Flyers fans in your life. And we will talk to you post-game. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. We'll talk to you very soon. the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. Boy, oh boy, we have a lot to talk about. If you're here for analysis of the 4-1 loss the Flyers were just handed by the Pittsburgh Penguins, this ain't the show for you tonight.
We were all right tonight, though, on the wins. Right?
We all
Sadly,
got a point.
we took
we all
the
got
Penguins,
a point.
We all got it
the
right.
Penguins won. Okay, now
I
we're not here to talk about
honestly
that.
haven't
We're here to
watched
talk
anything
about
since
Cutter
7:15.
Gauthier. Cutter Gauthier, who refused to play for the city of Philadelphia, and will now go down as one of the most detested players to have never. By the way, I didn't know the man was Gretzky. I didn't know the man was Sidney Crosby. I didn't know the man was Alex Ovechkin. Has he played a minute in the NHL? No, he has not. Has he already tried to dictate terms of where he's going to play? Yes, he has. Do we care about Cutter Gauthier? No, we don't.
Have fun at Disneyland.
Feisty Russ. Feisty Russ is like
Go
my
right
favorite thing.
Space Mountain all the way to obscurity. You can go join that fraud Mike Trout, and you'll never see the playoffs. Have fun out there, buddy. Have fun. You could have played in a city that cares about hockey. You could have played in a city that would have gotten behind you as a part of this rebuild, as part of the next era of Orange. And instead, you will rot in misery in California. Beautiful weather. Horrible hockey. Good luck.
The entire balcony hears you right now.
But
the
you can
Press
get
Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show, available on YouTube, X, and Facebook.
You can get a really
Thank
nice
you.
skateboard out there.
but seriously, you guys know it's a different night tonight because normally post game I'm downstairs, right, talking and getting interviews and stuff. But now I'm sitting up here with you guys because it's not even worth talking about the game. The game, like I said, I didn't see it. I'll have to go home and watch the replay. I
It was
saw
a busy night here.
5 minutes
else.
of it, right? I saw 5 minutes of this game tonight. Everything going crazy. My phone is completely blown up. You can see my battery is
low.
Very low.
It's very low.
It's very low of all the text messages and everything that I've been getting.
Russ, can you put this? So people are asking. I've had a couple about the correlation. So what happened tonight? Cutter Gauthier, the 5th overall pick by the Flyers 2 years ago, was traded to Anaheim for defenseman Drysdale, who could be Jamie Drysdale, who could be possibly like a top pair guy. He's very young. He's not a big guy in stature, but he's a skill player. Picked 6th overall in a very deep draft in 2020. People are saying that there's been rumors going around that that there'd been something that I don't need to hear a rumor to know that that Cutter Gauthier had somebody in his ear. Nobody in the world doesn't want to play in Philadelphia anymore. Guys are like want to come. Like Bryce Harper wants to come here. Guys now with the Phillies are starting to come here. When this team gets good again, they're going to come here. So I'm absolutely stunned that this happened, but it's because somebody was in his ear.
Yeah. There's a question from Rory. It says Al Morganti said Briere sent Cutter back to BC.
No.
When he wanted to come to the NHL. Any truth to that? No. Here's the thing. They wanted to see what he would look like as a center, and BC was willing to play him at center. But that wasn't like, oh, you're not coming to the NHL, you need to go back to college.
Yeah.
There was an situation where it was like, oh, well, if he's going to go back to school for another year, we'd like to see you play that position. So that's what, I mean, it gets kind of confusing, and I know it's easy to kind of maybe misinterpret what is being said and the information that you're getting, but it was not that they did not want him to come to Philadelphia, right? They didn't want him. It's not that they didn't want him to leave early, because I'll be honest with you, if Cutter Gauthier wanted to leave college,
he could have.
He could have.
Yeah.
And the Flyers would have put, if they didn't think he was ready for the NHL, they'd have put him in the AHL, which, oh, by the way, is better than the NCAA. Right, Bundy? I mean, if that's the case, they would have played him in the American Hockey League rather than if they didn't think he was ready for the NHL. The choice to come out of college is totally on the kid, on the player.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. And now everybody, you got prognosticators. Everyone's saying they knew it was going on. Like, I don't think anybody knew it was going on, because if they did know what was going on, Anthony would have known. I never heard they were shopping him. I didn't know that. I'm unaware of any of those stories. As for the NHL, I didn't think a lot of the stuff, Anthony, at the end of the World Juniors last year was the fact that I thought that the Flyers thought that he needed another year in the minors, is what I was told. Yeah. You know, and personally, I didn't think he dominated the World Juniors enough last year to really think taking a step. But I don't know.
There are a few levels here. Brian asked this, so go ahead and answer this. Charlie O'Connor said that during the past draft, Flyers were quietly shopping Gauthier and offered Montreal Cutter for the 5th overall, would have picked Reinbacher and then Mishkov. Truth to this.
I can't say that with any certainty. I mean, I haven't. I know that this is something he put out tonight. I had not heard that in the past. As a matter of fact, Briere said it was after the draft that they started really kind of pushing for moving him. So, I mean, maybe he was just misleading us just a little bit. I mean, it's possible that was the case. I do know they were trying to trade up with Montreal, but the idea was to trade up with Montreal to get Mishkov.
Right. Yeah.
That was what they were trying to do. So I don't know if that's the case, if that was part of the plan there, because you don't run the risk. You don't trade to 5 and draft Reinbacher, and then let Arizona trade their pick to somebody who wants Mishkov, and you miss out on Mishkov.
Right.
So you don't do that.
I don't think that's real.
Right. So I mean, could they have traded up with Montreal to get Mishkov at 5? Certainly, and I think that was something that they were looking to do, but I don't think that they would have taken the chance that could have happened, and then they would have missed out on it. They would have looked really bad if they traded Gauthier for 5, drafted Reinbacher, and then somebody jumps them to 6 and takes Mishkov in 6.
Yeah,
that would have looked really, really bad.
Well, and let's just kind of call this like it is. We heard tonight, from Danny Briere to the media. Jonesy was on the TV telecast during the second intermission, while Dan Hilferty was here with us.
Yeah.
They're all saying the same thing. They're all giving the same timeline, that the communication was cut off after the World Tournament, and that they were hoping that they were going to be able to turn it around. I find it highly unlikely that they would have told us, now that this is all done, and as they've been kind of setting the stage of how this whole thing unfolded, I feel like if they had been having those conversations at the draft, they probably would have said that tonight. And I could be wrong, but now the deal's already done. You're not losing leverage by saying
not only that,
you were engaged in conversations.
Not only
I'm just
that,
I'm not totally sold.
Yeah, not only that, Russ. It's that if you're going to say you wanted to give the kid time, and really they did, and we heard Danny say it, and Dan Hilferty said it. I'm sure Jonesy said it on TV as well. That if you were going to give the kid time, to maybe change his mind and decide he wants to come here. As a matter of fact, they were in Sweden, Keith Jones and Danny Briere, planning to talk to Gauthier and give him their plan for the organization going forward in hopes that he would change his mind. So if you were going to do that, you're not going to sit there and say, as soon as he tells you, I don't want to be part of the organization, okay, well, we're going to trade you right away.
So there's something really odd in all this, though, and Anthony, you were there, but the player wasn't even taking phone calls.
No.
From the team. So what I'm saying is that it's one thing. So, if let me throw this on you guys, all right? Let's say it's 2021, and I got drafted and I got picked by Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Right? The first round or whatever. I'd be thrilled to be in the NHL.
Yeah.
Like, Winnipeg's not the greatest city, like in terms of sightseeing or warmth in the winter, but I'd be so excited to be a part of an organization and start my NHL career. I don't know if this guy realizes what a blessing this city would have been for him. Low travel. He could have come in here and taken advantage, been a god here. He's going to go play in a place where nobody cares. They care about the Kings when they're good. And the Anaheim Ducks did win a Stanley Cup in 2006. 2006? No, 2007.
7. Yeah.
And so, they've had a winning way, and they've had some great players, but that's not the case now. And it's just a bizarre. I want to understand more why he wouldn't even take Danny's call. So that's what I'm saying is if you get drafted by Winnipeg and you're 18, you go through your years, believe me, the organizations take care of their first-round picks. They want to continue to talk to them, see how they're doing personally, professionally in their sport. For him to not take a phone call from the organization is one of the most ridiculous, babyish things I've ever heard in my life. And there's a thing called karma, and karma always gets the back end of something. And I have to find out somehow, because it's the weirdest thing. And I cannot help but think that somebody didn't poison this kid's mind and brain by telling him something that just wasn't true about Philadelphia.
And there are a lot of comments and questions coming in about it. So we're going to do as fair of a job as we can on this. If you go back to when he was first drafted, one of the first stories written about Gauthier, and somebody sent it to us over on Twitter as well, is a screen cap.
Can you send that picture I sent you, Russ, that I shared earlier from that one Philly something? It was one of the things where it's quoted. Yeah.
And so it was a thing about how Gauthier said that Hayes had reached out, that he was in a lot of constant communication with Hayes, that he looked up to Hayes, that Hayes was a role model to him. Now, I get the fact that there are a lot of people who are really excited about the player Cutter Gauthier is. And I honestly, I think was probably the highest of the three of us on what his potential could be. I don't think he's going to be a bad NHL player. I don't all of a sudden say, hey, they traded the guy, now he's crap, and he was never good and all that. I'm not changing my stance. I think he's going to be a good player. However, there are people right now who are doing this weird kind of like tiptoe thing of, well, he's his own person. How could he possibly be influenced? It's just people making stuff up to cope. No, like there is a very clear relationship that he put on the record that he had with Kevin Hayes. Kevin Hayes was unceremoniously sent packing by this organization. We talked about it during the pregame intermission. We talked about it for months. We talked about it since it happened. There were people in this organization who did not want Kevin Hayes here. They did not like his influence in the locker room. They did not like his influence on younger players on this team. They wanted him gone, and they got rid of him. And as we said earlier, this, for better or worse, is kind of collateral damage. If what it took to get rid of Kevin Hayes so that he didn't have a sphere of influence over these younger players that you're trying to build around is Cutter Gauthier's, well, the well was poisoned. That's just something you have to deal with. I don't go into, and I saw somebody's, I don't know where it's at. Somebody said, these guys are our company employees. They're phoning it in. We're not. That's one. Two, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Drysdale is going to be a legitimate number one defenseman. I know that there are people who think that he can be. There are people who think he can be a number one power play guy. I get that. But I'm not going to sit here and try to sell people on the notion that he's going to be the number one defenseman you're going to build around, the guy that Jonesy talked about months ago with us on this show of being the number one defenseman bona fide for this team on a cup run. Not going to try to sell anybody on that. But the guy that you had didn't want to be here. And as that word continued to leak out, which Briere said during the first intermission, when that happens, you start to lose leverage. And the longer you wait, the less leverage you have. The worse package you're going to get back. Hilferty said it. Briere said it. And I'm assuming that on TV, Jonesy said it as well. That is the truth. That's negotiation.
And the drama is out of it too, right, Anthony?
Yes.
You don't so just remember, guys, we dealt with zero drama. There was nothing, not a second of it.
Yeah.
So, and that's good stuff because it takes away a lot of the aggravation that comes with the drama.
Yeah, no, it really does, and it's a decision, and that these guys made, and I'm hearing that Jonesy was probably the most influential person in forcing the decision to happen. To say we're going to trade Cutter. It was basically like, okay, well, let's not drag this on. We tried, we did everything we could on our end. Let's not drag this on. Let it get out there. Let people start hearing what's going on. Let's cut bait now. We'll get as much as we can in return. We have no idea what Jamie Drysdale is going to be. We don't.
Yeah, I don't. I can't. I don't want to speculate.
Look, I know what the scouting reports were. He went 6th overall in a very good draft, right? So there are a lot of people who like Drysdale. When you get picked that high, that's a player you anticipate is going to be a legit player in this league.
And here you go. Paul, lose a 5th overall pick to dump Hayes is insane rationale. What did you get back? It's not like you got nothing back.
Yeah.
You got back number 6 overall pick, a right-handed defenseman, which we know teams pay above and beyond market value on all the time, and he's 21. He's had injury problems.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, can he be something good?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I mean, he actually had a decent offensive year as a 19-year-old. Put up 32 points in his second season in the league. Then got hurt last year and was hurt a little bit at the beginning of this year, kind of carried into this year and in the beginning of this year, and he missed a lot of time. But that's what the Flyers wanted to wait and see him play. And so they had scouts watching him play and, checked him out. They feel like that he's back where he wants to be. And they feel like they can change a lot of what was going wrong with him out in Arizona, in Anaheim, and get it right here. I mean, you are coming to a team that plays a more defensive-minded game, right? I mean, let's be honest with that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, Torts is ready. You want to go to Torts?
Yep,
sure.
Let's go to Torts.
Game, especially against a team like with those guys.
That's not the right reason, Russ. I thought coming out of there 2-1 was a positive for us. Ideally, you don't want to be taking 5 penalties in a 20-minute period. Third goal is the one that gets you. But again, we spent too much time in our end zone. We didn't come out clean enough. And yeah, we just weren't clean coming out. And you give that team second opportunities on breakouts, and sooner or later the momentum changes. I thought we fought. We just struggled with scoring. We just don't have enough people going offensively. They're the better team.
So for you, obviously you guys gave up a ton of shots, but for you it's more about spending too much time in your zone rather than coverage issues?
Oh, it's both. Yeah, both. But give them credit. One thing about Pitt, they don't get enough credit as far as how they defend. And I think both the teams, our team and their team, were 6th or 7th in the league as far as defending. But we just weren't good. We were not good enough in either end, and that's the result you get.
John, obviously, you know the news now, and you've been here long enough. When you hear someone doesn't want to play in Philadelphia, what is your reaction to that? And also, what do you think of adding a guy like Jamie Drysdale in your back end?
Just talked to Jamie. We're watched a lot of tape on him. Obviously, had discussions. We're really excited about the opportunity. A 21-year-old, right-handed shot. We're going to put him on the power play right away. One of them. He's just starting. Kid's head spinning right now. It's his first time at this. But we're really excited about the opportunity. I think it's get a second rounder. I think it's a really good deal for us.
To the first part of Kevin's question, Danny said that Cutter didn't want to play here in Philadelphia and didn't want to play for the Flyers. What's your reaction to that?
Then we don't want you.
John, I believe you've met Cutter Gauthier before. Were you surprised that he?
I don't know Cutter from a hole in the wall. So, and I'm not too interested in talking about him. I'd rather talk about Jamie. He's the guy that's coming here.
With regards to Jamie, when we spoke with Danny at the first intermission, he said that one thing that he's excited about is for the coaching staff, for you and Brad Shaw, to kind of get a hold of him and try to develop him into the top pair defenseman they want him to be.
It's such a good age for us. That's what's exciting. A 21-year-old, writing, skill, lateral movement. It's such a good deal for us. It's a reminder we're in the process that we're at right now. It's perfect timing. So I just got off the phone with them. We asked so much out of 21-year-olds. His head's just spinning. First time being traded. He's packed for a 2-week trip. Now he's coming here. But he'll be here for practice. So
tomorrow.
We'll see him tomorrow. Yeah.
Can it help the overall vibe that, obviously going into this season, the thought was the Flyers are probably going to sell off some pieces before the trade deadline. Here you are adding a player and not losing anyone off the current roster. Can that give the group a jolt?
Yeah, I think what's going to eventually give this group a jolt is he's a high character kid too. Just in a roundabout way, information has gotten back to me that there's going to be some people upset there in Anaheim. Some of his teammates and just how he handles himself. Some of the staff. So no one's off our roster on this one here. A righty. It really exciting. I don't know what else to say.
When you looked at the line, Flyers have been stocked on the left side a lot. Travis is also a left-handed guy playing on the right side. Does that kind of now change a little bit now that you can see that you guys have set players for set positions?
Yeah, it's going to change things. We've already, thought that Sandy will probably see a little bit of time on the left side too, because we want to give this kid an opportunity. We want to get teaching right away with him. There's so many things that we want to introduce to them. They play a different type defense than we do. We need to teach that. But Sandy, I may go because I'm not interested in sitting out any of the 6 right now that have played because I think they deserve to be. We may be at 7D sometimes during this situation. I've got to think about Mark also and trying to keep him in the mixes. When you're in this process in building a team and you make deals like this, we just have to make it work. And so there'll be people moved around as we get going.
How do you see Drysdale fitting in with an already solid group of young players that you have in the team?
Yeah, just as I said, we've heard great things about him as far as his character. Aggressive up ice, a good offensive player. He's going to fit in just fine. It's how much we give him. Shawzy and I have already talked about this. We just want to slowly go about it. we're really looking at the part for me. And as I watch the tape, I just don't think he's up the ice enough offensively. That's something. The first time I see him face to face, that's what I want to tell him, because I want to see him get going that way and try to help us offensively. We'll teach him the defensive part of it. I want him to get going offensively.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, welcome back.
I don't know, Cutter from a hole in the wall.
He said hole in the ground, I think.
A hole in the ground?
Yeah. The ground is even lower than the wall. Boy, oh boy.
It's it's. I mean,
we don't want him. Torts is a beaut.
But it's true. If a guy doesn't want to be here, don't be here. They got rid of him, and I love there's no drama. I mean, I'm really it's unfathomable to me that a player would want to play in Philadelphia for hockey too. I mean,
again, a player who
like
hasn't
anybody.
played a minute in the NHL.
In the NHL, right? Like that's the part for me. Is again, I can't let it go because somebody did that to him. Somebody told him that. Don't come here. It's awful. I'm telling you, it happened, and I know.
No. You know, we're talking about Jamie Drysdale, and Torts talked about Drysdale and where they put him right on the first power play because can't get any worse, right? So we're going to put him right there. They're going to get him in, get him working on the right side. And yeah, they don't, they're going to carry the 7D. They got to figure something out there, and all that's all well and good. But don't forget about this. They also got a second-round pick in this deal.
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay, they now have 7 picks in the first 2 rounds of the next 2 years.
Yep.
7 in the first 2 rounds in the next 2 years. That is a really good asset.
Yep.
They may not use that pick directly. They may take that pick and trade it for something else.
A lot you can do with it.
I mean, that is a valuable asset.
It's going to be a high second-round pick.
Yeah, because the Ducks stink.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So, you're getting maybe like a 30 to 30, 32 to 36 possibly, which is good.
It's a really good pick, and it's a good job getting that. I mean, I think that we don't know what Drysdale's going to be, but I do think that getting an asset like that is very, very helpful and should not be lost in this trade because I think that that's something that the Flyers could do a lot with.
Well, it's going to be an interesting week. It looks like he'll be in Wednesday. I don't want to comment on him. I don't know enough about him. And I think
About
that's
Drysdale.
fair. About Drysdale. I mean, I'm not going to sit here commenting on a guy. I want to watch him for a little bit. I want to give him some time. Getting traded like that is not easy. He's a young guy. Certainly deserves a look. I don't want to. I hate breathing the name Eric Desjardins into it every time we hear a trade for a defenseman coming in. But that was a fortune-changing trade, right? And I'm certainly willing to give this young guy a look here and hope it works out. I mean, we got the second, but it's by all accounts, it sounds like the Flyers are really excited to have him and come in here, and they got a piece back for a malcontent who was never going to play here and never wanted to play here. How's that for the rapid?
I like it.
Anthony,
I like it.
Anything for you, Ant?
No. I think it's just a crazy night. It's not the way we anticipated tonight going in any stretch of the imagination.
Except that we all picked the Penguins to win. So it did go how we expected.
That did. That
on the
went
ice.
You know what I think we can say?
What can we say?
I know what I think we can say. Did you unless you already told the story and I missed it when we were over in the first intermission. Did you tell everybody what Danny said to you?
Nope. I wasn't going to say that.
I think that's fair.
So Russ needs a class in journalism.
I think that's totally fair.
I thought that would be like an uncouth thing to.
No, now
he's trying to help you.
I think it's okay to say now.
Okay.
Yeah. So why don't you tell the story? Go ahead.
So pregame, we're setting up.
And it's before I got here. Otherwise,
Yes.
I would have asked further for sure. But go ahead.
So I'm doing my regular day job, and intern Andrew is setting things up, and Danny Briere and Keith Jones are going by as they do every day, check in, say how are things going. And at one point, I missed it, and at some point, Danny looked at me and said, "You working?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Are you ready to work?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm always ready to work." And he goes, all right, I got something for you to work on. And I'm not thinking. I'm just like, oh, he means like do the show. Okay, like cool. And I was like, all right, guys, have a great time. Because I'm not thinking. It's just, it's not occurring to me. And then I looked at Ant and I said it to him. And now Ant didn't go, oh, well, Russ, that's very interesting. Nothing. And then when the news broke,
it was within minutes.
It was within. Well, no, it was after pregame.
Yeah.
It was after pregame was done.
Yeah.
And then I looked at you, and once it came out, I went, And there it was.
Yeah.
That was.
He was giving us a heads up without giving us a heads up.
That something was
He
coming.
fed a partner info.
I know.
Yeah, and we missed it.
Beaker's right. You know? Beaker, I'm sorry to let you down. I'm sorry to let you down. Shadow 36 is right. The stash is clouding my brain. I'm going to have to shave it up. Listen, we are going to have a lot more to get into over the next few days. We are back here on Wednesday. They have another home game. We'll break it down. I have to say, there is no doubt in my mind that before the end of the week, we're going to do a regular Snow the Goalie episode.
100%.
100%.
Where the language can fly and where we can really dive even more into this, because there's a lot of things that I think we want to say. We're going to do the whole digging things up, the checking in with people, the triple, quadruple vetting of things. But we're going to have, I think, a more holistic view of what happened, the timeline and everything. I would expect Ant's going to write up. I know he's already written some stuff. I did like the breaking thing on snowthegoalie.com. He wrote over on Crossing Broad. We have a lot of things that are going. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. We had the biggest number that we've had this season.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
So,
Great crowd.
you know, if you're a first-time viewer, by all means, thank you for joining us. We do this every home game. Press Row Show up here outside of the Snow the Goalie Sportsbook,
Morning
Wells
after.
Fargo Center. We have the morning after recap where we do the morning after every Flyers road game. We do that on YouTube as well. Everything goes in the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And we do the regular Snow the Goalie show. It's been a bit sporadic because there have been so many games, but we're going to get back to it.
Yeah.
Typically, the language flies a little bit. We have the Bundy bombs when he says a bad word. You know, we do one of these. But we've agreed that we're not going to do those. We're family friendly here on the Press Row Show, but the other shows, it flies. Anyway, this has been a wild night. This is one of those nights where you sit down, we look at each other and we go, this is it.
Yeah.
This is, and it, whether you're upset as a fan or not about what happened here with this move, with Gauthier, with all of it, you can process it however you want. The one thing that we can say is when this team in the offseason said they're going to be open for business, they might not have been thinking this. They might have been hoping it wasn't going to be this, but they're open for business. And this move is going to have to precipitate another move. There are too many defensemen at the NHL level on this roster. This will not hold.
And more importantly, and I'll make this the last word, more importantly, what happened tonight should show the fan base is that they weren't kidding when they said they were going to be as forthright and as honest and open with you as possible every step of the way in putting this back together. And I feel like we should feel vindicated too, because we've been saying all along that we promise we will do the same thing. And you're hearing it. Like, they're coming on and they're telling you. If Jamie Drysdale comes in here and he's not good, we're going to tell you, dude isn't playing well. And this might not have been a good trade. Like, we will say it. And they will be okay with us saying it. But they want
because we're not employees,
right?
We can say whatever we want,
whatever we want.
We have, except for that, can't do that on the Press Row Show. Other than that, we're fine. So, anything else, guys? Intern Andrew's back. I think it's time to go.
How'd that go down there? Good stuff down there, Intern Andrew.
Did any of the players shake your hand tonight? All right.
Intern Andrew says it's the most pleasant torts has ever been in a post-game presser.
You didn't get any autographs, did you?
Wait. Him asking for them or the players asking him for one?
No. Well, both.
There you go.
Both.
Autographs go both ways.
We saw Intern the other day signing autographs down the concourse there.
Oh, fantastic.
Jeez,
He's
Louise.
the best.
All right, time to go, guys. Everybody have a great night. We'll be back on Wednesday with the Press Row Show and another episode of Snow the Goalie this week. Have a fantastic night. We'll talk to you soon.